now, and I can see more people joining. I'll start with a quick opening prayer, very brief opening prayer. We have two speakers tonight. One is an in-house person, an old girl, just like the rest of us, and the other person is our guest speaker, who I shall be introducing a bit later on. Let's pray. Our Lord and our God, we thank you for this evening. Thank you for keeping all of us alive. Thank you for making it possible for all of us to be here. Thank you for the unity that binds us, which is Fegicolla. Thank you for our alma mater. Thank you for where we're coming from, and thank you for where you are taking us to. Thank you that all of us are building blocks in that tapestry that you're creating. Commit this evening's session onto your hands. We ask that let knowledge be imparted. Let us learn, let us glean, let us understand the girl child better. For as many of us that need the information, Father, let us get it tonight. And let there be significant changes to how we raise the girl children that you have put in our care, both biological and non-biological. Thank you, Heavenly Father. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen, amen, and amen. Throw away. I can't hear any response. Is anybody there? Throw
We're
away.
all on mute. That's right.
Can we all unmute and respond? Throw away.
Throw away.
Throw away. Hey, throw away. Hey, Fegicolla girls, throw it away. Hey. This evening, our first speaker is Adejisola Aladesomi. She's an old girl of Fegicolla. She's a member of the alumni, and she finished in year 2018. She's a medical student, and she's in 600 level, if I'm correct. Yes. She's the national coordinator, Girls Child Advocacy of Nigeria Medical Students Association. Her role, she says, as a national coordinator is basically to reach out to girls on behalf of the Medical Students Association and enlighten them about their personal health. That is so awesome. 600 level. When I was still in university, I don't think I had the mind of this sort of advocacy, but that also speaks to the changing times. Without much ado, I will not talk much because it is not me we're here to listen to tonight. I'll invite Adejisola to unmute and take the floor. She has 10 minutes to talk, and then we have about 5 minutes if there are any questions and any questions. Can I just say, please, if you have any questions during the delivery, can you type it in the chat box? It will help us to coordinate the questions and probably move quicker this evening because our time is limited. Thank you very much. Adejisola, over to you. You can unmute and show us your beautiful face.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening. We can hear you.
Okay. Good evening. Thank you very much, ma. I want to appreciate the house for this opportunity to speak to us today. My name is Aladesomi Adejisola Desi. I'm set 2018. Like she has said, I'm a 600 level medical student from Chukwemeka Odumegwu Ojukwu University, and currently the National Coordinator for Girls Child Advocacy for the Nigerian Medical Student Association. Okay, this evening I would just like to tell us a little about what we do in our organization, what we do in Girls Child Advocacy. Basically what we do as Nigerian Medical Student Association, we try to reach out to our society. We have different committees and different organizations that help to give back to our community as a students that are medical students in Nigeria. So we just come together and we form an association, which is the Nigerian Medical Student Association. So one of the organization is the Girls Child Advocacy that have been in existence for about 10 years now. So we've had a lot of outreaches this year. We had Paddy Girl, 24th of May this year. We had reaching out. We call the outreach reaching out. where we went to secondary schools to talk to girls about their menstrual health, their self-esteem, and some other things that we feel like girls, female child experience in this day and time and have to do with their health. And we feel like as medical students is
Fegicolla, you're muted.
okay, sorry, ma. Can you hear me now, ma?
Yes, we can. We heard you say you reach out to the girls as medical students. Reach out to the girls.
Yes.
That's the last.
Okay. Okay. As medical students, we reach out to girls' child in our society to tell them to enlighten them about things that we know can be hazard and danger to their health. So this month, 11th of this month, we had the World International Girls Child Day. We had the World International Girls Child Day, and the motto for this year girls vision for the future. And we just talked about this kind of thing in a please
Sorry
can
to
you hear me?
interrupt you, Gisola. Please, sisters, kindly mute your mics if you're not speaking, please. Thank you. Go on, Gisola. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma. So we reached out to we went to secondary schools, and then we had a kind of a quiz competitions whereby we told girls, female child between the class of GS1 to GS3 to write an essay about their vision for the future. Like, what are they aspiring to be? Would they like to be a leader someday? What is the kind of thing they would like to do? Because we feel like in those days, it's kind of a belief that girls' child cannot rule. Girls' child are not given the opportunity to show what their talent is. They are not. It's the people have this kind of belief that once you're a female, you don't have a quality of a leader, and that was one of the things we tried to tackle this year. That as a female child, you can lead and you can be a very good leader. So we asked female child to write essay, what they feel about themselves, the challenges they feel they are facing, and then we also did an outreach to enlighten girls child about the little issues, all these PCOS, because we've noticed that PCOS is kind of rampant in our society now, and a lot of female child they don't find out till maybe whenever they're about to get married, and they have issues with infertility, they can't give birth at that point or something. And then we reached out to female child that are battling with acne, face acne, and then we found out that a lot of them are suffering from PCOS. So we also did an outreach that has to do with female child that suffer from body odor, and enlighten them about how they can tackle that, and things they can do things they can do to tackle that, and how they can fight it, and then how they can recover their self-esteem back. So we noticed that also in our society, the kind of way the society is becoming now, a lot of things are on social media that are being that young child are exposed to, and is giving a kind of orientation to young girls that this is the only way you can be yourself. This is the only way you can survive in our society. This is the only way you can be in our society. And there's this kind of saying that this is the only way you can feel among your peers, your friends in our society. So we are working on a magazine to show young girls that even with what is going on in our society, there are other ways that you can come up with yourself and you can still be yourself. You don't have to do what other girls are doing. You don't have to let what people are doing in the society enlighten, like influence you. You don't have to allow what your friends are doing, people around you, female child around you are doing in the society. So that is the project we are working on currently right now. We find out that in our society now, the pressure is already too much on girls' child, most especially. They feel like once you're not wearing designers, once you're not wearing luxurious, you are not a girl child. Like you're not feeling among, you're not doing what your peers are doing. Like it's a kind of a downgrade for you that you're not wearing luxury hairs, you're not doing this, you're not doing that. You don't have luxury boyfriends that give you luxury money. So we feel like we found out that it's very rampant in our society, and then now it has it has influenced a lot of young girls into doing what they are not supposed to do. And then we are faced with a lot of things, teenage pregnancies, girls' child, like our self-esteem has reduced drastically in the society now. So we are working on a way to reach out to young girls and make them understand that there's more to you, there's more to what you can do. You don't have to depend on anybody, you don't have to depend on a guy to survive in society. There are businesses, there are things you can venture into that will help you grow yourself. And we are trying to come up with a thing that has to do with having your own money as a girl child is something that is very good to do in our society now. And there are different ways you can make your own money. So we are trying to expose them to skills, online businesses, internet um, businesses, and tech. So we are in collaboration with a tech company, and we are trying to come up with an outreach teaching young girls to come into tech, introduce them to tech and how they can enlighten and better their lives with it. So um we are just busy what we just basically do is reach out to young girls, make them understand the techniques of life, and make them a better child for the society, make them a better person for themselves, for their parents, for their society, for their environment. And then we're trying our best not to allow things that are happening in society influence the young girls around us. We're trying to prevent teenage pregnancies because as medical students, we know the danger that comes with it. So we are trying to discourage it in our society, discourage things, a lot of um there's a virus that is very rampant in our society, the HPV virus. So we are trying to enlighten young girls to take vaccination, to stay away from premarital sex, to be faithful to their partners for people that are married, because we notice that there are girls of 20, 21, even 18 that are married now. So that's just basically what we do. And we're trying our best to reach out to as many girls as possible that we can reach out to, and a way to reduce health hazard in our society and things that are dangerous, health issues that we know is life everlasting, that doesn't have cure, that is life everlasting, that can damage the life of many girls in our society. Thank you.
You so much, Adejisola. Oh my goodness, you are involved in a lot. You talked about so many things that my jaw dropped. So many things that the girl child is going through. There are some questions in the chat box. Please, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat box. And it will help us to, go through the questions faster that way. How do you get to interact with the young girls? That's the first question in the chat box. Adedishola, question is to you. How do you get to interact with the young girls?
Okay. Thank you. We have representative in all the states, all the old 36 states of Nigeria. In at least we have three, I think we have up to like three medical schools in each state. There are some states that has just two, there's some state that has three, and there are some states that has up to four, like private, federal, and state. So we have people that we call licensed officers in each university. And then so each state they have their own outreaches and go to the schools in their community. And then sometimes we have online webinars. We have sometimes we go to radio stations. We appoint people in some states to go to radio stations and speak to people. Then another thing we do is we make small flyers, posters. we do internet challenge. Like we go to schools and ask young girls to make videos of themselves, talking about themselves or something. So that's how we basically reach out. Though we are still looking for other better ways to reach out to people that are in villages that we cannot reach. So we are hoping that there's a better way that we can reach out to them. But for now, we try as much as possible to reach out to people that are in our surroundings. And sometimes we take it down to all these villages, all these people that cannot access internet. So that's how we reach out to them. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so, so much for that very brief insight to what you do. In 10 minutes, you spoke about what you do, but if one was to sit down and look at what you do, it's deep, it's intense. You mentioned a lot of things, and in our society, especially in an African society like we have in Nigeria, the girl child cannot lead, the girl child cannot rule. We look at the political space and the leadership space in Nigeria, and we see that there's a shortage of strong female leaders. You know, the health of the girl child. You mentioned something, PCOS. I don't know what that abbreviation means. Could you just enlighten us on what PCOS means, please?
Okay. Please, can you hear me?
Yes, we
Can
can.
you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. PCOS is polycystic ovarian syndrome. Is a kind of syndrome that affects females. Is when your ovaries, you have enlarged ovaries. It's an hormonal disorder, and it comes with a lot of challenges, acne, the obesity. Some even used to have infertility problem when they are married. So these days there are a lot of people that they find out that they don't even know that they have it till maybe when they get married, and then you come to the hospital to check why you can't give birth, and then you find out that you have PCOS. And there are a lot of girls battling with acne. They're battling with acne. They thought it's just normal skin acne that everybody just have. You buy skincare, all these ones, but at the end of the day, you find out that you have PCOS. So we are trying to encourage people to go for screening sometimes. As a girl, should just go for screening, check yourself, and it's kind of a chronic condition. It's something that doesn't really have a definite cure. It's something that you can just control. So we just tell girls that when you have issues with irregular menstruation, you have excessive hair growth, like male pattern of hair distribution, maybe you are growing chest in your jaw, you're having beards, you are growing hairs in your chest, you're having because most of them they don't have regular menstruation. So you're having irregular menstruation, you're having acne, you are gaining weight excessively. We just have advised them to come to you just tell them about the symptoms. So if you know you have 2 or 3 or more symptoms of this, come to the hospital, let them check you. So that's just basically what it's all about.
Thank you very much, Adejishola. Your work is extensive in a society where there's so much stigma around everything. I'm sure that the National Exco will need you to do some work in school, which is what I know that you wanted to do. Our time is now 8:51. Our second speaker is on already. She joined 20 minutes ahead of time. Can I say again at this point, if you have any questions for any of the speakers, kindly drop it in the chat box. We're going to have a 30-minute delivery from our main speaker, and we'll have 15 minutes of questions thereafter. I'd like to introduce our next speaker. Her name is Irene Bangwell. She's an educator and a parenting coach. As an educator, Irene and her husband, Kingsley, are the co-founders of the NOSC 100 Naira a Day Secondary School, Kuje. This is a private public secondary school designed for children from low-income families, 100 Naira a Day Secondary School. As a parenting coach, Irene is the creator of the Body Smart Bundle for Girls, a biblical abstinence-based sex education tool for girls, educators, and parents of girls. She holds conversations that empower parents with the knowledge, skills, and resolve to parent wholesome girls. She was also the convener of the Safer Christmas Carnival, a family body safety event. Irene mentors hundreds of girls on a monthly basis through her remarkable program tagged the 10/10 Girl Squad. Her vision is an African continent, millions of females in her boardrooms championing development and inclusive growth for every African. Irene holds a bachelor's degree in banking and finance from University of Calabar, a postgraduate diploma in education from University of Ilorin, and executive education certificate in leaders of learning from Harvard X. And she's also an ex-student of Federal Government Girls College, Calabar. So she's a sister to all of us, pro unitate. I'd like to welcome for the next 30 minutes, Irene Bangwell to do her delivery. Thank you so much, Irene, for agreeing to be here on such short notice. We really appreciate you. Over to you.
It's such an honor to be here with the Large House. Good evening, mamas. It's such an honor to be here. Yes, I'm Anu Susan. I finished from Federal Girls Calabar, class of 99. I don't know if there's anyone in the house that is class of 99 from this school. Ma, please, I'll need permission to share my slide. I made a simple thank you.
I think I've done that now. Yes.
Thank you very much. So I want to make good use of the time that I have. So I'll just start by telling a little story about myself and why this session is important to me. So my name is Irene Bangwell once again. I was raised by a single mom who raised me all by herself. I have never met my dad. And there were some contradictions with my mother's story. For example, she grew up as a pastor's kid. So the question was, what happened? How did you get pregnant as a teenager? Unfortunately, as I grew up, I found that in the community where I lived, or in the society where I lived, my mom wasn't unique. There were so many young women that took in here and there. And so I really appreciate the work that Gisola is doing today, especially from the medical standpoint. But the big question for me began that how come I was seeing a pattern that there were children growing up in what we would call wholesome families, girls growing up in wholesome families, godly families, Christian homes. Why were they ending up in these kinds of situations? And just watching my mother and grandmother relate and lots of other situations that I experienced, it hit me that there is a big challenge between parents and girls. And the challenge arises where parents always make the assumption that just because I'm providing instruction, I'm building my child's capacity to make responsible choices. There's such a big difference between instruction and conviction. Instruction is what parents say. Conviction is what determines the actions that girls take. So throughout this month of October and November, I'm doing this tour where I'm meeting communities of parents to just open the conversation about this disparity between, I've been telling her, and she has decided to do this. So I was so excited when I was informed that the group had chosen a very interesting topic from our long list of topics. And they wanted me to talk about rebuilding and fostering parent-child connect. I'm so happy that we are having this conversation because it's a foundational reason why there's a disparity between instruction and conviction. And I don't know if parents can hear me in the house. I would like us to do a small vote. Which one would we rather our child went away with, instruction or conviction? You know, the thing about instruction is that your voice is present and you're saying it. So what happens when your voice is not in the space and there's no risk of you finding out? What choices will your child take? Conviction, on the other hand, is my child has heard my instruction, meditated on it, and made a decision that they're going to do the right thing. So that's the thing. So there's instruction, there's conviction. Instruction said, I've passed information across. The child may or may not take it, but conviction says, my child has bought into this thing I'm saying, and they've decided to make a responsible choice. So for example, while Gisela was talking, I saw in the comment section, one of the mamas on the call went ahead to say, I hope you're talking to the kids, the girls, about the importance of keeping their virginity. And I know where she's coming from. I know how important what she's saying is. But you see, the kids who don't keep their virginity are not exactly kids who did not know it was wrong. They knew it was wrong, but the question was, did they have the conviction that the right thing to do was keep it? So today I'm going to be talking from that lens. How can we rebuild and foster parent-child connect with our daughters so that instructions that we are giving become so deeply entrenched that it becomes a conviction for them? So I'll move very quickly because I really want to answer questions. I don't know why I'm going back. Okay. So for me, the first thing I want to start with is the biggest reason, the root cause for parent-to-child disconnect is breach of trust. And it is two ways. There's breach of trust where a parent is disappointed in the repeated choices a child makes. And so before you know it, you don't have the right attitude towards the child. You're impatient, you've become resentful, or the child feels like, I can't be myself around you. You're critical. You complain about everything. So it's breach of trust. But I'm going to be exploring different ways that it manifests itself and what we can get doing immediately. So for first thing I want to say for our daughters, there are three core needs. All girls, regardless of their ages, including the girls on this call, want to be seen, want to be heard, and want to be valued. So from when we are young, we look up. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Somebody mistakenly unmuted, I believe. I think they've muted now.
All right. So all girls, all girls, we want to be seen, we want to be heard, we want to be valued. I dare say it's in all humans, but it's very peculiar to girls. So when we're young, we want it in our caregivers. That's why you would find little girls in class, they want to hold their teacher's attention, they want to help, they want to be complimented. When we move into teenage years, we start going through puberty. Oh, we want to be validated by boys. I've met teenage girls who say, no one is asking me out, I must be ugly, something is wrong with me. And then we move on to when we're married. We want our spouses and partners to identify the fact that they see us, they hear us, and they value us. So this begins from when our children are really, really young. So how does this play out in parenting? Your child, your daughter wants you to see them. And as a coach, I want to tell you that your daughter wants you to see her herself, not the child you thought she would be, not the child that made the mistake, her authentic self, who she has potential to be, who you're called to parent her to become. I kind of think that parenting is like a factory experience where you get raw material, you put certain ingredients, you provide the right environment, and then your baked goods is ready to impact the world. So, but now we can look at a child, let's say we have 3 daughters or 3 children, and we really like the achievements of one. I wonder why this other one is laid back, and it doesn't let us see the child for who they really are. So no matter what they do, they fall short in our eyes. And the thing is, disappointment doesn't hide in your eyes. Disappointment spills through. Your child hears it in your tone, how you respond to them, whether your face lights up when you talk to them or not. So I've been privileged to raise 2 daughters, and I dare say that they're 2 different people entirely. In fact, today I was driving somewhere for a meeting with one of my team members, and I had 2 distinct things about my daughters. My first daughter is a deep thinker. She thinks deeply. She's the one that looks at your face and would want to know if everything was okay. She might just say, remind you about something the Bible says and everything. She reads the room. She wants to know if you're okay. My second daughter does not read the room. She walks in, and while you're saying, Princess, read the room, she goes, okay, can I come back in 10 minutes? Is the room better now? They're 2 distinct people. But here's the thing. I told the lady in the car today, say, if I'm having a hard day, my first daughter would talk me through it. We'll talk through it together. But my second daughter will cuddle me through it. Now, after giving you that description, I'm sure by now you would imagine the one that makes the least mistakes at school, has straight A's. I mean, my second daughter say, at least, I mean, I had 4 A's. I think that's good. And my first daughter is like, I don't know why I had that B. I have to see them as distinct. And one thing God has taught me was that I need to see them through the lens of who is making them into. I have to see them through purpose. For instance, you have that one that likes to chatter and gist, and you're the introvert. And so now you're resentful of that personality. One of the things God wants you to know tonight is that that child was not wired for you. That child was wired for their journey. As a parent, you teach them the boundaries, the principles, but God needs them to chatter for a reason. And there'll come a time that is not necessarily chatter, it's purposeful conversations. But because that is not your personality as a parent, you're resenting them. So the child doesn't even, they don't know what to do to impress you anymore. The second thing is our girls need us to hear them. So what we remember most of the time
Hi, Irene. Your line seems to be fluctuating. Hi, Irene. Can you hear us?
is I've taught you this. I mean now.
We're the only one, but I think Irene's dropped off the call. I think her network.
Sorry, my call.
You're right, sister. It's a network, but I think she's back.
All right.
Yes, I'm back so much. It was my network, yeah. So let me go back to my slide very quickly. So the second thing is that the child needs to be heard beyond the things that they did or the things that you said. So for instance, let me give you a clear scenario. So let's say a parent has, let me not say a parent. A parent reached out to me last week and said they have a child that is lying. And she's lying a lot and they're worried. The child is about 5. And so I just thought that I'll send you a voice note and I want you to listen to it and tell me what the problem could be. If it doesn't apply to your family, forget about what I said. One of the things that stood out was children growing up in perfectionist homes have a fear of, so let's say if you're in a home that the parent says when you go to school and they give you a party pack, you don't eat it until you get home. Now, if the child watched other kids eating and it seemed like they were having a lot of fun, there is influence in that moment. And so they didn't want to look as if they didn't eat and have fun as well, they ate. Now, when they come home and that issue is being brought up, they're going to lie that, oh, there was no biscuit in my pack, because they recognize the standard, but they're afraid that they've fallen below it. So they lie to cover that. So it means that if I want to teach my child to stick to the standard at school, I have to give them more than the instruction. I have to give them more than the standard. I have to have conversations. You know, what is healthy for you? Mommy wants to see it. Some things may not have the right ingredients, and you know, you want to have self-restraint. You want people to know that you have self-control. And every time you're able to do it, a thumbs up for you. It gives the child a self-satisfaction that they want to attain to. And in the process, conviction is built beyond, don't touch what they give you in school, bring it home. So now when the child fails, we have to hear beyond the action they took to the motivation surrounding them. So what were they afraid of? What was happening around them? So in the conversation the next time, the conversation we're having will be, oh, other people were eating, you wanted to have fun. Yeah, well, sometimes we could feel that way, but we still need to remember that we might eat something that is not necessarily safe for us. And as your mom, as your dad, I'm being trusted to make sure that you're taking the right things. So next time, regardless what people are doing, you can also talk to your classmate and say, why don't we keep this away and go home and show it to our parents first? In the process, I'm not the child's worst nightmare. I'm actually trying to equip and build the child's skill. So I want my daughter to know that I hear her. I see the mistakes she made, but I also see the influences. I see her fears. And then also, I hear her ideas and opinions. Like, I don't know if we still have homes where children cannot make contributions or bring up ideas. But one of the biggest things about self-esteem is not telling our daughters they're beautiful, is listening to their ideas, their opinions, and implementing it. For example, the simple thing like saying, well, Adora is choosing dinner today. Adora, recommend what we should eat or recommend where we should go to. Adora, what do we do about your two brothers always arguing about this? There's something called self-efficacy. Watching what they think or opinion they have being upheld has tremendous impact in building their self-worth and self-esteem. Now, it's only parents who recognize that the child's opinions are valid. The child's opinions are valid that listen. So where children feel listened to, it helps them bond better. They know that even when I fail, I can talk to my mom. Even when I don't do well, I can talk to my mom. I can talk to my dad. And the third pillar is girls want to know that they're valued. Being valued means I prioritize you. I prioritize your well-being. So let me really paint the picture of this well-being. So you have a child that is maybe bedwetting. You need to prioritize her well-being with the disappointment that you feel, which is that we're going to work on this together. What do you think is contributing to this? If you need to see a urologist, that's fine. If you think it's a habitual thing, what can we do? Your child must see you to be partnering with them to do better. And they must see it as a family value. They must see it as a family culture. Now, when girls grow up in homes where even when I stumble, my parents hold me accountable, but they're right there. For example, I know a family that they stumbled on their daughter watching porn one time. And what they did was sit down with her to tell her how toxic the content was. And when they were done, they helped her understand the long term of it, and the child agreed to be held accountable. So they told her, you will not have your device for this number of months. She had no tantrums. She had no reactions, because what was on her mind was, you're helping me have a clear head. You're helping me stay sane. You're helping me. So the child sees that even when I make mistakes, my parents will be there. Even when the child falls, we are there to support, because that's what parenting is. One of the things that has led to sexual abuses in homes is when children are running away from their parents, finding out their weakness. Meanwhile, they're supposed to be running to their parents when they have weaknesses, because we're not supposed to be expecting that we're raising perfect humans. We're supposed to know that part of our responsibility is to partner with God to grow the children into wholesome humans. And in those moments, the clay will break sometimes, but we are part of the remolding process. There have been housekeepers who found out something about children and said, if you don't want me to tell your mom, do this with me or do that for me. And it was the beginning of a lot of things. And we want our children to see us and run to us. I always like to use this simple example. When we, as children of God, for example, I learned this a while back, where God asked me, the Holy Spirit asked me one day and said, hold on, when you sin, do I expect you to run towards me or run away from me? I'm like, yeah, you want me to run towards you. Say, so go home and parent your children to run towards you when they do something wrong. And they don't run towards you because you will not do anything. You will address it. You will show them that you will help them acquire the knowledge they lack. You will hold them accountable to build the skills they need to, but they'll see you as a support system. So why is it important for our girls to feel seen, to feel heard, to feel valued? It builds their self-esteem. That's the first part of it. I've already started touching on that. The second part is that it builds self-leadership. Now, part of this store is convincing parents that the most powerful thing to build in your daughter is self-leadership. And self-leadership is about conviction. So for instance, a child that watched porn and the parents partnered with her to acquire the knowledge she needed, the accountability she needed, the skill that she needed, knows what to do when she's tempted another time. We want to raise girls who are not saying, I don't want my mom to know, but whether my mother gets to know or not, I'm not doing this. That's the conviction. And conviction comes in when we've had adequate conversations at home, supportive conversations at home, non-judgmental conversation at home, non-labeling conversations at home. The child feels comfortable enough to bloom and grow, make mistakes, learn from it, grow. Then finally, this one touches me at the heart. Please, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes.
So this third really touches me.
Yes, that makes my meal.
Why is it important for us to have an empowering relationship with our daughters? Nobody raises a girl for the life and the journey of a woman like her mother. Mothers know the seasons. Mothers have the insight. Mothers have the knowledge. But without the right relationship, the daughter runs away from the mother and leans to people who may not even have 1/10 of the insight the mother has. I remember this one time I was invited to a school to talk to older girls. And normally when we go to have a conversation with them, especially private schools, the girls already have an attitude. They feel like you've come to preach for us, but I don't preach for them. And so that day I decided to hinge the conversation on, if you're having an estranged relationship with your mom today, I want to tell you what is really going on. I want to tell you why your mother seems to be paranoid about the choices you make. I said it's because your mother sees herself in you. She sees that even though you're 14, you love the way she loves. You love sacrificially the way she loves, and that's harmful for you as a teenager. So your mother is trying to help you navigate. By the time I started showing them that your mother has insights for those things that you think you shouldn't talk to her about, a lot of them were remorseful. I'm passionate about helping mothers connect back with your girls, create judgment-free spaces, equipping spaces, not permissive spaces, not spaces where my daughter is my friend, so we don't have standards. So so for example, I don't know if I can be as real as this. So for instance, now I was raised by a single mom, and I feel like God has done quite a lot with my life. I can't go out to say, man, it doesn't matter what someone does, God will still use your life. No, my life is not principle. My life is not doctrine. Bible standards are Bible standards. My work is to equip girls to not have to go through the journey where we are hoping that God uses the child. I want to work with the ideal. It's been a rough reality for my mother. And so even when people celebrate me that, oh, look how Irene has come, and people say, oh, Dio, you must be so blessed to have a daughter like her. She's still not me. I altered her own reality. And this is God making meaning out of everything. Not everyone who went that journey is seated where I'm sitting. So I can't use my life as doctrine for the child. So when I'm saying they bond with parents, I'm talking about parents who point the girls to the standard that they ought to live to and support them. I'm not talking about parents who are taking 14, 15-year-olds to go and have family planning because they're like, I don't want her to end up pregnant. What about HIV? What about AIDS? What about other STDs? If the only risk is getting pregnant and your child knows that you have removed the possibility of that consequence, are you really helping her long term? But many parents do that because they don't feel like they can. So some parents feel that children will do what they want to do. I'm not sure I can actually build the skill. I'm not sure I can actually equip. I'm not sure I can actually do this. And so it brings me to the next part of my slide, which is that there are spaces that are now partnering with you. There are spaces partnering with you to ensure that your daughters are learning the skills that they need to learn. There are spaces that are echoing the things you want to teach. And there are also spaces where you also come in to build your parenting skills. And so last September 2023, I started a platform, a mentoring circle called the 10 over 10 Girls Squad. It's an online mentoring space. We've had up to 400 plus girls on the platform, and on a monthly basis, we are meeting with the girls. Every month, they take a lesson in Bible study, body safety, leadership and character, pre-recorded on our online platform. We do live sessions with them on Bible Live and leadership, and we're hearing a lot of questions. In fact, just last night, a girl living in some part of the world sent me a message saying, I've been invited to a party, dress code is crop top, bomb short. I really want to go. It will feel like fun. What do you think I should do? Now, she is not comfortable talking to her mom. She may not even tell her mom that that's where she's going to, but she came to talk with me last night. What do I think? And that conversation is on. So there is support for you so that you don't take a shortcut and give them alternatives that could complicate their life. And so as I'm doing this tour, I'm talking to more and more parents about what's been happening. We've got so amazing reviews. One of it is that many parents are saying the girls love to listen to you. We have parents saying, oh, you're talking about these issues, but you're talking about it calmly. The children are getting it. The children are looking forward to it. The children are saying it's so practical. It's so useful to them. So I'm going around meeting communities of parents and just letting them know that there's support. Somebody wants to help you so that, I mean, you don't need to have a toxic relationship. You don't want your daughter to show up with the man she wants to marry and tell you they've come to marry her. The question is, who gave her the blueprint to know who was safe to be with short term, safe to be with long term? Who gave her that blueprint? She's not supposed to spring a surprise on you that someone has come out. You're supposed to be a part of her navigation. You're supposed to be a part of her crushing, her liking people that didn't reciprocate, people that liked her, she didn't reciprocate as well. You're supposed to be a part of our support system. And so we are very excited to talk about the 10 over 10 Girl Squad, which by the way means wholesome girl. And so our registration for 2025 is opening. I can send a link to Madame that was interacting with me to invite me to come talk with you girls. Yeah, we're all old girls now. So to all of us ladies about this, and we can send you a quick link. We have 3 ways we are offering this service now. We have, for parents who are not very techy, they say, I don't want plenty technology. We have an email mailing mentoring service. We call it the squad mail. Parents who say, I want the app. I want her to build self-leadership, log in on her own, do stuff on her own. In addition to learning, they have mentors checking in on them online, going up, and they'll be live by January. So if you're the parent that wants that full squad experience, which is currently on now, fantastic, that's available. If you're a parent that say, I want physical meetings, we're starting a physical meeting in Abuja in 2025. So in the meantime, if you'd like to learn more, I would send a link. If you would also like to try the classes between November and December, you can try the classes for 3,500 Naira monthly. But I can send all of these links to Madam, and I would be happy to answer questions at this time. So I'm ready to answer questions. I'm ready to answer questions. I'm ready to answer questions.
Thank you so much, Irene. Thank you so much. As you were doing your delivery, I was trying to keep up, but there was so much information because with everything you said, one begins to think about what, for those who have already raised the girl children, you begin to recount your steps and some of the things that, how you could have done it in a better way. In the chat box, I think there's one question. And even as you were rounding up, I was like, is it over? I'm going to just go straight to the questions because I am sure that there's a lot that people have to say before I continue. Okay, Adedoyin Adedro says, my first daughter is so impressionable. She is 10. I really don't know how to help her navigate being friendly and knowing how to set her boundaries and speak up for herself. And speak up for herself. I could answer that. Please go ahead. Yes. Thank you.
So the first thing about that is that I think it has to do with her temperament. And so one thing you may start to do is understanding how that temperament thinks. So for example, so I call them social butterflies. It's a thin line between when they become friendly and when they become, for them to cross and become people pleasers. So the thing is, they see people happy, which is not a bad thing, except that you teach her that is not done at your expense. So what you do teach her is principles for her to note that is being reciprocated. If someone makes it look as if you're bothering them, take a walk. Who are the people we're friendly with? We can say hello and hi to people, but we want to make sure that our values are aligned. If somebody is compelling you to do something and you feel like, let me see that they are happy, then you know that there's something wrong with this. So with people, with girls like this, you don't stop them from being friendly. You feed them, you give them the building blocks. So my second daughter is exactly like this. So when we used to go to church then, she can run off from you and go and hug a complete stranger in the leg. So we started saying, we do highs. Say, your hand doesn't leave mommy's hand while we say hi. Make sure your hand is still inside my hand and use the other hand and wave. And when she started making friends, I saw where she was at the mercy of her friends. Like, people are getting her to, oh, sorry, there's someone's mic that is on.
Kindly mute your mic, please. Oluwadamilola Ogunye, I believe. Okay, Irene, you know what? I'm going to mute all, then you can unmute and continue talking. Let me mute all.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Carry on, Irene. You need to unmute, Irene.
Yes, so I have raised a child like that. So I had to tell her, your hand is inside my hand. Then we talk about the principles. We say we wave and we don't do hugs, we do high fives. And then as she got older, I would see with friendships that she was giving more than she was receiving. And I started telling her the way life works, they have to meet you halfway. Now that's different from stop, don't do that. Can't you keep your hand to yourself? It's not the same thing, because I learned along the way that girl's personality will open doors for her. But I need her to learn the principles to avoid her from being exploited. So, Mama, there's something inside you that you want to pass on to her. Can you sit down and articulate the things you're concerned about, whether it's abuse of friendship? So if it's abuse of friendships, what does it look like? Will the person ask her to bring stuff and not reciprocate? Will the person, not care for her the way she cares for them. While we don't want them to be in a give and take, we want them to know atmosphere of friendship. Is the person your friend when they're with you, and when they see other people, they move away? Those are the building blocks for the conversation. So instead of stopping, we keep with the principles. And this is what I would do. I would tell her a story and say, if someone did this, would you like it? Say no. Why wouldn't you like it? And then she would go ahead and say, oh, this is why I would not like it. So now be on the lookout for that. And then also you have to be patient with them, because sometimes when they start making friendships, because it's a core ingredient in their personality, you can break them in the process of teaching them. My daughter had a friend in school who would repeatedly say the meanest stuff. I didn't know what would happen. The girl, one day my daughter came home and said, I don't want to wear earrings anymore. I said, why? She said, so person told me I'm going to hell. I'm like, what kind of conversations are you people having? It was very toxic. And she was just in primary 1. I worried about a child of that age spewing the kinds of things she was saying. And we just kept on talking to her. And I would remind her that I love you. Mirror the way I love you. Mirror the way your sister loves you. See the way we treat you. Now, that's the thing. If children are growing up in homes where hostility is mistaken for discipline, they can't recognize it outside. They think it's a part of life. So you see the way mommy treats you. When you make a mistake, how does mommy react? How does mommy talk to you? Does mommy listen to you? Now, when you go out there in school and someone doesn't listen to you, this is it. Now, fortunately for us, we're about to change school. We changed school to a new school, and that family would call us. And to my shock, my daughter never asked for them to visit the house. My daughter never asked to go visit the house. And one time that family called and that child was on the phone and said they wanted to talk to her. She looked at me and said, no, mommy, I'm not doing it. So what that means is that for conviction to sit, we need to allow what we're teaching marinate. Let the child have room to meditate on it. And meditating means they'll ask you questions. Sometimes they'll be quiet when you speak. Sometimes they'll argue with you. But meditating is still taking space. Our own is just to say, remember, mommy loves you. And this is what love looks like. This is what friendship actually looks like. So I hope I've been able to help, clarify. So somebody asked me, you help boys as well? No, not at all. But my husband runs a similar mentoring program for boys. And I used to get harassed a lot every time I go to talk about girls. So I just added it to my slides that anywhere I go and someone says, what about boys? I'll say, oh, go to this link and leave a message for boys. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, Irene. Thank you. There's another question from Bolanli Babajide. She says, how did you deal with a clinging last daughter who wants to be around you and still behaving like a baby when she's 12 years old?
All right. So I think this is the signature for last kids. They're the babies of the house. So instead of being worried about her clinginess, I want you to think about, is she really becoming independent? Can she tidy her space, clean up her environment, manage her time? Can she cook her meals? When I say cook her meals, like heat up her food in the microwave, boil rice, do something around. Can she help? Does she serve? Does she recognize that she's a part of a family and she also has a contribution to make? Now, if she can do all of that and she's still clingy, you're fortunate to have her clingy at 12. Because before you know it, you're going to be saying what is going on. But now you need to be careful how you're also pushing her away, because it could lead to other things. So have a set of parameters that you measure independence. Don't center it only on clinginess. If you're making progress with her personal independence, personal sense of personal responsibility, you can give her a time and a space for the clinginess. You can tell her to read the room. Like I said earlier, when I've had a long day and my face is drawn, once I just come in, I announce to the girls that no one should come into my room for now. And so they see that, oh, I need my personal space. I've had a long day. I'm exhausted. And so when it's also time to cuddle, we're going to be available to cuddle. Because bottom line, Auntie Bolanle, she will not be clingy all for a long time. In the next 6-7 years, your baby is going to be out of the house. And you want this moment to matter. And psychology says hugs make a big difference. So review your parameters and make sure she's building sense of personal responsibility. Do you give family discount for multiple kids? I always get this feedback. Sign up first. We'll announce the multiple discount maybe sometime in November. That's for 2025. But for people doing trial classes November and December, unfortunately, we're not able to offer discounts at the moment. Thank you so much, Auntie Buki.
Yes, Mama. What is the age range for the children?
Girls age 3 to 17. How did I miss that? It's 3 to 17. We have 5 age clusters. So 3 to 5-year-olds learn together, 6 to 8-year-olds, 9 to 11, 12 to 14, 15 to 17. We've broken them into those groups so that every lesson is age appropriate and relevant. Age appropriate means that they're not learning anything that is too high or anything that is too low. All right.
Thank you very, very much. On to the next question. Njideka Emefele says, thank you, Irene. I have a daughter that keeps to herself. She does not freely share her opinions except you probe her. How can her come to her? Oh, I think, oops.
So that she'll feel
How
free
can
to
she come from her shield and
her
feel
shield.
free to share? She's 18 years old.
She's 18-year-old. There's I don't want to say there's history. I would, if I were to be sitting with you alone, I would ask, was she always quiet? What is the tone of conversations in your home? So if she said something you didn't agree with, how would you react? Has anything she said in the past become a big issue? Has she shared an opinion that you went, hello, how could you think about that? Now, when they feel judged by conversations over time, they learn to keep their opinions to themselves. But I just want to share with you something. A child who is not sharing is a child you don't know. Because in order for us to move children to conviction, we have to shape their beliefs. And the way you shape beliefs is by hearing what the belief is so that you know when they've gone off tandem and bring them back. So if I was in your shoe, this is what I would do. If I had an 18-year-old that I had to probe and probe and probe to talk to me, I'll write her a note and I'll tell her that I'm doing self-reflection, that if she could write to me 10 years ago, what would she ask me to change about my communication style? I won't be direct that I want you to change. I want you to feel free. I'll tell her that I'm doing a personal reflection. Write me a note that you'd have written to me 8, 10 years ago and tell me the things you would like for me to change in my communication. If we're living together like his mother, father, family circle, I'll tell her to write the same for her dad to see what would change. Now, there are children that are quiet by personality, but quiet by personality does not mean that they need to be probed to speak. They may be quiet, they don't have a lot of things to say per time, but when it's important, they'll go out and have the conversation. Now, it might be a personality thing, but try this exercise. Ask her write to you what she would have you change in your communication style, all right? Or anything she'd like you to make changes in. Ask her to give you feedback and tell her that you promise her is judgment-free, that you're just doing like a recap. I just feel the need to say something here. Some of us parents have I think I've shared it before, a different personality from our daughters. And it makes us so irritable by their different little things that they do. I want you to know that they pick your body language and they could pick it to mean resentment. And a child that may not be speaking may have gone away with an opinion that she has about how you perceive her. So, you want to make sure you hit everything. Maybe something you said in the past and how she thinks that you perceive her. I
you
like
done?
this.
Yo, you
Yes,
see the
I am
next question.
done.
You see the next question. Okay.
Mama, your question, you've already answered your question. You have a straitjacket way of measuring well-behaved, and you measure it in terms of one of your daughters and not the other. They're two different people, two different journeys. For example, if you're raising two kids, that one was to read theater art and the other one was to read medicine, for instance, by their wiring, they will not have the same personality. So when you say pushing your buttons, what do you mean? Do you want to make sure you have clear rules? For instance, the clear rule is nobody drops their bag on the corridor after school. You hang it up. When we come back, we wash our hands, we take out our clothes, we do our homework. Can you have a routine in the house everyone follows? So that sometimes the hyperactive, energetic kids are not aware of the routines. They're not paying attention. They're so busy playing, they're not paying attention that it looks as if they're being disobedient, but they are generally restless. So can you articulate that? Because if you yourself are sensing that you may be partial and you may be treating them different, the other one is speaking it. So I want us to focus on parameters and principles and forget about which child is doing it better. Have clear-cut parameters. Let me give you an example. One child may wash the plates 10 minutes before the time. The other may wash 3 minutes before the time. The priority is that they both wash the plate. It helps you the long-term consequence of a child sensing sexuality.
You're meant to come up with something and tell me. I cannot be prompting you.
Adejishola, kindly mute, please. Adejishola, thank you.
Allow my first do things she wants while I tell my second and now write no to the same thing. So it can lead to sibling rivalry between both of them. It has the long-term consequences are too far. So let's make it about principles. What are your expectations? Communicate it clearly. Like sometimes I would, when my kids were younger, they're now 11 and 13, I would put up a poster and say, when you come back from school, follow this sequence. Obviously, my first daughter would do it way faster than the other. But one of the things we did in the house was that we sat down and we talked to everybody about everybody's personality. My second daughter, that is the life of the party, the social butterfly, she's kinesthetic. They exist by movement. And by doing, by touching, by feeling. So, and she will do it without taking permission, not because she needs to. So I had to settle her, so we acting, and does not have the risk of such weakness to judge the future, but she has to deal with whatever it looks like right now as a young person. So use parameters, mama. Forget about who is doing it well now. Use parameters. Yes, I was the one on Bracket, a family talking about the 100 Naira a day school. I run a charity secondary school here in Kujeya, in Abuja, where kids pay 100 Naira a day to access secondary education, yeah?
I was going to ask you how 100 Naira is even able to feed one
So yes,
child.
ma'am, it's me.
But honestly, you have the grace for that. Okay, so we have a few minutes to go. Like I said, Irene had joined the Zoom meeting about 15, 20 minutes before the actual start. So I have put on the chat, post your last questions. I don't see any questions as I speak. There was something Irene said earlier about the girls. I have one girl, and in many ways she's like me, but she has always believed she's not. But I see a lot of myself in her. It was from her that I even knew what HPV was. So sometimes we need to learn from our children. We need to listen to them a bit more, especially the girls. I liked what Irene said earlier about tell her, I love you, you look beautiful, or you look elegant, because we don't get it enough. We're in a society in Nigeria where these things are few and far between. I guess it's not in our society, but it is what we need to bring in order to build a holistic girl child. I don't see any more questions, so I am going to move on to the vote of thanks. Is Adejishola still on this call? There was a question for you earlier, which Irene touched on. And yes, Irene, they're asking for your social media handles. I believe that's what is on the next step. Visit tinyurl.com or the YouTube link as well. Do you want me to share that?
I will actually send it to you in a format that you can share, but I'm on Instagram as raisinggirls.ng. On Instagram.
Raisinggirls.ng. Okay.
Yes.
Adejishola, do you want to unmute and answer that question of how practically on the field, how do you get the girls to keep themselves from, keep themselves celibate?
Okay, thank you, Ma. Concerning that question, we've noticed that whenever we go to schools, is the kind of question we get a lot. And then another thing we notice is that when you go to schools and then you give these girls opportunity to ask you questions, the kind of questions they ask you that have to relate with that sometimes, you will keep asking yourself if you are really in a secondary school. So whenever we are answering a question that has to do with that, we don't project it directly that keep your virginity, because it's not something that they've not heard before. So we don't just say it like it's not good to have sex, keep your virginity, this kind of a thing. We just kind of tell them the risks that comes with it. We just try and enlighten them more on this is what will happen if you do this. I'm not saying that, okay, I can't tell you directly not to do this because this is something you've been hearing it. They teach you in church, your parents will tell you, in schools they'll tell you this one and that one. So, and also we've gone through that, we are still in that stage kind of, and then so we understand the kind of society we are now. So when it comes to questions like that, we're always kind of very sensitive to answer it. And like I said, we deal with telling girls about their health and things that, like the health challenges that they can face. So we just come in through that way, tell them that, okay, if you are doing this, you are exposed to this, you are exposed to this, you are exposed to this. And then the only way to prevent this is to keep yourself, is to be celibate, is to keep your virginity, be faithful to whenever you know that, okay, this is the right time to do this. So this is how we just tackle this kind of problems, because we know that in this world, you can't tell them that don't do this, because they'll just hear it as if, okay, we've heard it before, people have been saying it, people have been doing this, you're coming back to tell us the same thing again. So we just try as much as possible to come in another dimension, because the questions that they ask sometimes, as low as GSS2, will be asking you a question about, like, you just be asking yourself, is that, are these people really in GS2? Are these people really in GS3? That they're asking this kind of questions, that they're engaging in this kind of things. And it's a lot of challenges for us, but we're trying our best, because it's now like the kind of world we are now. Premarital sex is no longer a sin. People are no longer taking it as a big deal. When you tell people you're a virgin, they see it as, what is this one saying? So it's something that we are facing a lot of challenges on, but we are trying our best to come up with ideas that we can use and tackle it. So I think that should be able to answer the question enough. Thank
All
you
right.
very much.
Thank you very, very much. I would like to say a huge thank you to our two speakers tonight, Fegicolla and Irene. You ladies are championing a cause that is long overdue. Irene said before, if we start early, then we'll see a different outlook in our nation today. There's a lot of societal problems surrounding the girl child, surrounding her ability to, be financially independent, surrounding her belief system, what people have said, what people expect. Some people say, oh, women are supposed to be seen and not heard, and all those things. These two ladies in our midst tonight are championing the cause to turn that around. And I've put Irene's social media handle here. Fegicolla is in our alumni group. I want all of us to just follow them and support what they're doing and just share the message after this evening. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. We really appreciate you. And Irene, I hope to meet you face to face very, very soon. So in closing this evening, we started with an opening prayer.
Please don't close, please. I'm sorry. Good evening. I just asked a question now.
Taiwo, 1 minute, please.
Yeah, I just sent a question through, please.
Okay.
What an inspiring evening. Thanks to both our speakers and to the organizing exco thing. Thank you for the talks. I'm scrolling. Good evening and thank you so much. Okay, can you unmute and just ask the question, Taiwo, because I can't seem to see it in the chat box.
I can see it. Raising both boys and girls under one roof with all you have mentioned, does this mean that the rules of engagement within the family is different? Is that the question, ma'am?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is, Irene.
Yes, it is. It is.
So, the rules of engagement are not different. But for example, when a child is disappointed, the response from boys is different from the response from girls. Are the boys hurt by it? Yes. But the promptness to make a rash decision is more common with girls at the onset. For instance, because of even socializations, a boy can say, Mom C just makes a lot of noise. Mom C just talks too much. But your daughter hears, Mom C doesn't love me. Mom C doesn't want to have me here. There's a boy asking me out. Maybe he will give me the love I'm looking for. So the reason that we have different programs for different girls is because of the nuances of both genders. One will quickly think that I'm being rejected. I'm not wanted anymore. The other one could be indifferent. None of it is ideal. The son is indifferent, is not hearing anything, but the daughter is trying to do something else. she's turning to something else. She's turning to hypersexuality. That's the reason the one that we're dealing with now. That's why Gisola is saying in GSS2, kids are saying the most unfathomable things. So because of the nuanced responses to diverse situations, that's why we have nuanced support systems for them. So for instance, we will not spend time telling a boy, for instance, you're beautiful, you're handsome. Boys already have this arrogance that they are handsome. They're born thinking like that. They don't, in fact, if a girl doesn't like them, they're like, you're lost on a normal day. But girls feel broken and shattered. I'm not beautiful. I'm unworthy. Is that why mommy looked like that? That's why she did like that 30 days ago. Girls will connect things that may not have come up. So that's why. So if you're in the same family, you're just learning the unique ways that the boy will respond, the girl will respond. Don't say the boy that smiled with you after is not touched. He's touched, but he has his own approach. The girl also has her own approach. So all of these conversations just help upskill us as parents to know how to respond to the kids. Thank you so very much. Thank you, Mama.
Thank you. So I'm not going to allow any more questions. Please, in closing, can we all unmute and sing the Unity song? For those who don't know it, is that song that says, whatever God has put together, let no man put asunder. So at the count of 3, we can all unmute. 1, 2, 3. Can we all unmute? 1, 2, 3, go. Whatever God has together, let no man put asunder. Whatever God has put together, let no man put asunder. Oh, God, unite us, unite us, as in a motto, unite. Oh, God, unite us. Oh, God, unite us, as in a motto, pro unitate. Thank you very much, everybody. Until the next event online. Good night. Thank you, Irene. Thank you, Adejisola. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for joining.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.